Was it all just a dream? It was the night before the election, 2016. Everything seemed to be going as planned. Amateurs and experts alike had already called the election months ago.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States.
Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
He's not going to be president.
Is there a path to victory for Donald Trump at this point?
No.
You still think she has a 100% chance of winning the election?
I do. I'm not sure the Republican Party is going to survive.
I would like to introduce to you the next president of the United States, Ms. Hillary Clinton.
Thank you all, and thanks to Jay-Z and Beyonce. And thanks to Chance the Rapper and J. Cole and Big Sean.
She had no idea who any of these rappers were, but it didn't matter.
The big day is finally here, and it's time to vote.
A giddy nation awoke that morning to the news in the New York Times that Trump had only a 15% chance of winning.
You know, growing up as a little girl, I never thought I could be president. It's becoming very real.
Congrats, Hillary, our first woman president.
Woo, Hillary, all the way to the White House.
I waited over an hour to vote. I'm so happy.
In Rochester, New York, thousands put I voted stickers on the grave of suffragist Susan B. Anthony.
This is the most important election that I have ever voted in.
I got to vote for a woman for president. You're making me cry. We finally made it.
Once the polls closed, before the votes were even counted, the champagne corks were popping at Hillary's victory party in New York City.
This has a literal glass ceiling, a glass ceiling they're hoping to symbolically burst through tonight.
Let's be one nation, indivisible, with a kick-ass president.
Meanwhile, just 17 blocks away,
it's a decidedly small venue, perhaps the smallest one I've ever seen for an event like this.
things were looking bad for the other candidate. The crowd was glum.
GOP officials now fear that if Donald Trump loses by a landslide, he could take down their congressional majorities with him.
Fox News seemed relieved that they wouldn't have to support this man for the next 4 years.
I think Hillary's going to win.
The betting odds on the presidential race are 3-1 in favor of Secretary Clinton.
Look at all these wins we're projecting for Hillary Clinton right now. She wins New Jersey with 14 electoral votes.
Mrs. Clinton is also performing strongly on the East Coast. Massachusetts, Maryland,
and Illinois with 20 electoral votes. Hillary Clinton projected the winner. No huge surprises thus far.
Then something strange began to happen.
Big news for the first time tonight, really big news in the presidential race. We can project that Donald Trump will win the state of Ohio.
Donald Trump will carry the state of North Carolina.
And that is huge for Donald Trump. This is exactly what he needed to do.
Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida, state of Wisconsin. He will win Wisconsin. Trump doing very well in Pennsylvania right now. There's a cliffhanger going on here in Michigan. 56% of the vote is in. Look at how close it is. Right now, Donald Trump is ahead.
It's completely flipped now.
To make matters worse, Fox News was using my name.
Michael Moore, who knows white working class voters, has made movies about them, grew up in Michigan, had been saying all along to the Democrats, dismiss him at your own peril.
And he said, I'm warning you, I know the people who live in my state, and I know how they think, and I know what their concerns are.
Everybody should head home. You should get some sleep. We're not going to have anything more to say tonight.
This is a Fox News election alert. Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
It looked like a perp walk. He had written no victory speech. Never did a group of people look as sad to win the presidency as this crowd. At 2:29 a.m. on 11/9/16, our new leader's image was projected onto the Empire State Building. How the fuck did this happen? Yes, it was the Russians. And of course, it was James Comey.
What a job.
But history will record that no one was more responsible for Donald Trump being in the White House than this woman. That's right, Gwen Renee Stefani. Allow me to explain.
Ladies and gentlemen, my father, Donald J. Trump.
What you are about to witness is a fake announcement for a run for President of the United States. This idea was cooked up by Donald Trump when he found out that NBC was paying Gwen Stefani on The Voice more than they were paying him to star on The Apprentice. He paid a bunch of extras, $50 apiece, to be his cheering supporters. He would prove to NBC that he was more popular than Gwen Stefani, and then they would give him more money. He would also show them how good he was at improv with his fake presidential announcement. And that's when things went off the rails.
They sweated like dogs. I'm really rich. I'll show you that. They do a website. It cost me $3 that I got from China in a war. The sun will rise. The moon will set. He wasn't a cheerleader. He was the opposite. Even our nuclear arsenal doesn't work. I think I'm actually a very nice person. We have nothing. I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. I learned so much just sitting at his feet, playing with blocks. They're rapists, and some probably from the Middle East. And I promise I will never be in a bicycle race, that I can tell you. We now have a gun on every table. We're ready to start shooting. The American dream is dead.
NBC says it's cutting business ties with Donald Trump.
Donald Trump receives a pink slip of his own,
citing his derogatory statements, calling Mexican immigrants rapists, drug dealers, and criminals.
His plan backfired. He was now out of a job. Though he had no real plans to run for president, his sons encouraged him to go ahead with the 2 rallies that he had booked and paid for. As he looked around at the adoring masses, a crowd the size of which he'd never seen before, he had his epiphany.
Unbelievable! Unbelievable!
Maybe running for president wasn't such a bad idea after all. In fact, it was a brilliant idea. Fuck Gwen Stefani and fuck NBC. I'm going to be king of the world. There was no one happier with this decision than the nation's media. Trump was about to become their cash cow, and NBC could now put him on TV for free. First, he gave them a good laugh.
We better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket.
Next, I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on to write it down.
Then, he started telling them what to do.
But I want the cameras to span the room. Go ahead, fellas, watch. They don't turn them. They don't turn them. They don't turn them. Go ahead, turn them. Look, turn the camera. Go ahead. You with the blonde hair, turn the camera. Show them how many people come to these rallies.
Then he started dictating how the interviews would be conducted.
Hey, welcome back to Morning Joe. Let's bring in right now on the phone Donald Trump. How are you doing this morning, first of all, Donald?
I'm doing good. I did a phoner. It's always good when they take you by phone. That means you're hot. We do phoners to meet the press.
Donald Trump himself.
Good morning, Chuck.
Welcome back to Meet the Press, sir.
Good morning, Chuck.
I'm joined now on the phone from New York.
It's so much easier, folks. You sit home. Hi, how you doing? How's everything going?
And then, just for fun, he'd mess with them by keeping them waiting. Like on this day in Portland, Maine.
Frontrunner Donald Trump expected to speak at a campaign rally in Portland, Maine.
And waiting.
So we're just expecting him to come out here in just a few minutes.
And waiting.
We're awaiting his remarks moments from now.
Not on stage yet, as you can see.
Once again, we're standing by live.
The candidate is just not at the...
Go ahead and toss it back to you. I think you're telling me Trump's coming out now, Craig?
No, you're good. You're good, Hallie. You're good.
Oh, I can keep
He's
going?
not coming out yet.
Thanks. What will he say?
We are, again, waiting.
He can't seem to get a rally started on time.
Watching that podium.
Any moment now.
A Fox News alert, still waiting for that Donald Trump.
Let me show you. They're even up in the balcony. Take a look.
Supposed to begin about 25 minutes ago.
Donald Trump. False alarm. A bunch of people coming. Not one of them is Donald.
He's getting ready to walk over to that lectern.
Any minute now.
We've been watching and waiting for the better part of the half hour here.
I imagine he got a kick out of seeing just how long they put a live TV camera on his empty podium.
Let's just keep a watch here because...
Let's go. Donald Trump.
Thank you so much. What a turnout. What a turnout.
If you go back to the rallies, let me ask you a question. Did you put the rallies on because they were of news value or because they were driving ratings?
Well,
Man, who would have expected the ride we're all having right now? This is pretty amazing, and, who would have thought that this circus would come to town? But, it may not be good for America, but it's damn good for CBS. That's all I got to say. The money's rolling in, and it's amazing. That's all I can say. I've never seen anything like this, and, this is going to be a very good year for us.
All of the big networks were run by men. And some of their biggest stars shared a lot in common with Donald Trump.
The word judgment has been used a lot concerning your use of your personal email. Why wasn't it disqualifying if you want to be commander?
She has to learn to do it with humor, and when she doesn't now, she's being kind of aggressive.
And I'm Mark Halperin.
And I'm Donald Trump.
Do you think the email crisis contributed to the question of trust?
Was certainly not a choice I would do again.
Okay, I want to hear you out on this. You've said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
That's
it was the wrong thing to do.
That's right.
Fox News has a secret formula, and we're never going to tell anybody what it is.
There's got to be some downside to having a woman president, right? Something.
Hold it. Let's get some more air conditioning. Hey, Matt, turn up the air conditioning. Up the air conditioning.
This malignant narcissist, the one on the right, has always played the media for suckers and gotten away with it. I should know. Back in 1998, Trump and I were booked together on Roseanne Barr's new talk show. He did not know that he was scheduled to appear with me. I was all set to take him down, but he wanted nothing to do with it. I saw he was getting ready to leave.
Tell her. Have a good time.
Excuse me, Mr. Trump?
Roseanne's producers asked him to hold up and came and spoke with me and begged me to go easy on him.
I don't know. He was scheduled to be on Politically Incorrect with me, and when he heard I was on, he skedaddled. So.
Did he really?
Yeah.
We're not, we're a daytime show, so there can't be...
What does she want to do?
She would love to have you both out there.
Have you asked him?
No. You were the easy ones to see.
Right.
Get you on board. I'm sure then...
I didn't want Trump to walk, which would screw up Roseanne's show, so the next thing I knew, I was playing nice.
I've been on unemployment 3 different times in my life.
But you know what? Neither one of us was ever $1 billion in the hole.
I was down, almost about 900 million in the negative sense.
Oh, my.
Instead of asking him which Russian mobsters bailed him out of his billion-dollar debt, I just decided to make a joke.
And what unemployment line were you standing in?
I was doing that.
I did learn one interesting tidbit. He had seen my movie, Roger and Me.
I tell you, I loved what he did. Oh. If I was Roger, I wouldn't have liked it, but I enjoyed it. I hope he never does one on me, though.
It's very interesting, Bill, because I met Michael and had dinner with Michael years ago, and I found him to be a really nice guy, great guy.
I never had dinner with Donald Trump. He just made that up. And that's not the only time I've been in Trump land. Here I am giving a back rub to Jared Kushner. Back in 2007, Trump's future son-in-law was so excited about socialized medicine, he threw the opening night party for my new movie.
I think Michael chooses very interesting topics, and I think he's also one of the great people of stringing together an argument. He does a great job of putting together a lot of different clippings and a lot of different information in a way that it's very easily digestible by a lot of people.
And if you had to throw out a topic for his next film, what do you think that would be?
Knowing Michael will be something that we're not thinking about and something that, really needs a light to be shined on it.
And you want to know who else had their grubby paws in my film? This guy. Years later, I discovered that it was Steve Bannon's company that did the home video release.
Michael Moore's a master of the craft. I'm just an apprentice.
He has integrity.
I actually admire Michael Moore as a filmmaker. I think he's a great filmmaker. I don't agree with his politics, but I think he makes great films.
Okay, I don't know what to make of that, but it seems I'm a bit too comfortable with the enemy. Here I am on Facebook Live, just 2 days before the election, trying to inspire people to vote for Hillary, and guess who pops in?
Huh? Oh my God! Kellyanne Conway. Oh my God! We met.
Michael, be honest. Who's going to win Michigan?
Even if I did know Kellyanne from being on talk shows with her, this was over the top. As I snuggled there with Kellyanne on Fifth Avenue, 66 floors above us, sat the soon-to-be president, snuggling his bucket of KFC. And it made me think, how well did we really know Donald Trump?
She's really a beautiful baby, and she's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Who is his favorite?
I'm going with Ivanka. I'm going with Ivanka.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
When Ivanka Trump came on stage, it's nice to see a dad kiss his daughter. Trump responded, he kisses her every chance he gets.
Did your daughter get breast implants?
No, she didn't. I mean, I would know if she did. She's actually always been very voluptuous.
You are special. You remind me of my daughter. And I like you. I like you.
And you had sex with him?
Yes.
He's very proud of Ivanka. He said I was beautiful like her.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Oh, it's so weird.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
Does this make you feel uncomfortable? I don't know why. None of this is new. He's always committed his crimes in plain sight.
We expect to be successful in court.
We knew about this. Should he have ever been able to build or own another apartment building? He did this too, right? Demanding the execution of 5 innocent black teenagers.
And let's all hate these people, because maybe hate is what we need if we're going to get something done.
We don't know who did that crime. And we all definitely knew about this.
All I want to do is see this guy's birth certificate.
And yet, neither you nor I called or wrote NBC
America's boss, Donald Trump,
to have an admitted racist removed from the air. His racism, his misogyny.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked in a very physically vulnerable position.
You know, I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
All of this done out in the open, as if by doing it publicly, it was okay. No one would object. Even committing treason on worldwide TV was acceptable because he didn't hide it.
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
Trump loves the strong man, the autocrat, the dictator. Take these 2 strongman CEOs. They go way back. The one on the right became the governor of Michigan before the one on the left became the President of the United States. Before Donald J. Trump would be unleashed on the world, we here in Michigan got a coming attraction for what you would all soon experience. It began in 2010 when a Republican named Rick Snyder was elected governor of Michigan. He had no experience in public service, but he was very, very good at foosball.
Yes! Oh, not again!
And he was very, very rich. He had been CEO of Gateway Computers. You remember, right? The piece of shit computer. And he told the voters of my state that he was going to run Michigan like a business.
I was hired to serve our citizens. They're my customers.
Ah, yes. We're the customers. The customers of the big business that he was running. The ones that would pay for his billion-dollar tax break for the rich.
The Michigan business tax is gone.
Emboldened by his victory, he was not satisfied with just being governor. He wanted more power. And how do you get more power? You scare the people and declare an emergency.
Governor Rick Snyder appoints an emergency manager.
Prop 1, the emergency financial manager.
When citizens got their emergency manager.
And it is official.
State police and a security team out to try and keep peace.
The emergency manager bill is now a law.
Governor Snyder signed the emergency manager law.
Even though there was no emergency. He staged a coup. He removed from power the elected mayors and city councils of Detroit, Flint, Pontiac, and Benton Harbor, and install his cronies to run them in the way that he saw fit. This was a premeditated plan to reduce and privatize public services so that corporate people like him could make more money.
People don't think that this is happening in the United States. If you don't say like Flint, Michigan, and you just say the powers of this person, like they'll think like it's Honduras. This is a way to target Black and brown communities.
It was a king. The governor put a king into the city of Flint, and he ruled without being responsible to anyone.
Look at the cities in Michigan that are under emergency management.
The ones the governor took over.
The governor took over. At one point, 50% of African Americans in the state were under emergency management, compared to 2% of whites.
Governor Snyder's idea to remove democracy from Michigan's black cities so impressed the future president that he came to offer his support.
Can you share your thought on an emergency manager situation that's still unfolding in our city?
Well, that is unfolding. I've been reading about the emergency manager, and my attitude is whatever it takes to make that next step. We could say this maybe a little bit about the country. Whatever it takes to get it to the next step is what I would support.
Governor Snyder wanted to flex his new autocratic powers. He saw an opportunity to take advantage of the poorest city in the country and of the largest source of fresh water in the world. Option A was that he could just leave well enough alone. After all, for 5 decades, the city of Flint got its water from Lake Huron, a 10,000-year-old pure glacial lake, water delivered to Flint through publicly owned pipelines. Or there was option B. Why not build a new, completely unnecessary pipeline that would benefit investors, his major campaign donors, and banks like Wells Fargo? The only catch was that while the new pipeline was being built, Flint would have to switch over from Lake Huron to the industrial sewage ditch known as the Flint River.
We believe there was a significant financial fraud that drove this.
Was it for the benefit of the local unit of government or for the individual?
Individuals.
At those levels? Individuals are doing it for themselves.
Yes. I believe greed drove this.
In April of 2014, the governor switched the city of Flint's drinking water to the Flint River.
Here's the Flint.
Here's the Flint. Here it is.
Here is his team toasting each other over what would amount to, in essence, a slow-motion ethnic cleansing.
3, 2, 1.
Some residents are wondering, will we see a change?
No, the average resident won't notice any difference. Look down in there.
Within days, the average residents noticed a difference. A big difference.
That's nasty.
Their hair started to fall out. Skin rashes appeared all over their bodies. And the children got sick. Parents whose children showed no symptoms were still worried that they might be sick. Because as one doctor noticed, nearly every child had ingested lead.
There is no safe level of lead in a body of anybody. There is no safe level of lead. It is potent and it is irreversible, which means once it is in your blood, it wreaks havoc.
You mean irreversible for how long?
Forever. It literally drops IQ levels of children. It leads to impulse disorder and then memory issues, violent behavior, aggressiveness. It also impacts your DNA. Moms exposed to lead, you can see the DNA changes in their grandchildren.
Word of the developing disaster reached the governor's office. And so he quietly dispatched an aide to Flint to find out what exactly was going on. The report came back with bad news. The state investigator recommended switching immediately back to the Lake Huron water. But the governor seemed to have other thoughts, like getting PR people to make the problem go away.
Water that is leaving the plant is always assured to be at the top notch of quality.
For the governor, there was an even greater tragedy. The Flint River water was corroding the auto parts at the General Motors factory. When the governor heard this, he blew his top. After all, General Motors had donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Republican Governors Association to help elect candidates like Rick Snyder. And here he was, damaging their property. For Governor Snyder, that was a bridge too far. He immediately ordered the water in Flint to be switched back to Lake Huron, but only for the General Motors factory. The people of Flint would continue to drink the poisoned water. Nobody's going to believe this, that the one GM factory that's remaining here in Flint, they got to hook back up to the fresh, clean Lake Huron water, and everybody else.
And we were like, well, what's happening to our bodies? And they were like, they went back to, it's safe as meeting all federal and state guidelines. And that was like the drum.
But the auto parts that had to be washed in the factory had to have the clean, pure water.
Yeah.
From Lake Huron.
Yeah, because profit reigns supreme. We didn't own General Motors. That's why we didn't get like the clean, safe water.
So, you know, Trump is looking at this whole Flint water poisoning, and he's got to be thinking, wow, the governor got away with poisoning a majority black city? What will I be able to get away with?
Look at my African American over here. Look at him.
Go home and get a job. Go home, get a job.
Yeah, and if there's a group out there, just throw them the hell out.
Knock the crap out of him, would you? Seriously. I will pay for the legal fees, I promise.
Now there's a remnant. Yeah, he's right there.
Hello. Uh-oh. In the good old days, they'd rip him out of that seat so fast.
Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. We are going to make America great again.
I will tell you that our system is broken. You know, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand. Before 2 months ago, I was a businessman. I give to everybody. When they call, I give. And you know what? When I need something from them 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them. They are there for me. And that's a broken system.
He was right. It is a broken system. So he decided to break it some more by eliminating all 16 Republican contenders.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency.
Just excuse me 1 second. Well, this guy's a joke artist, and this guy's a liar.
One by one, he took down the Republican elites.
Donald Trump said, quote, "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that, the face of our next president?"
And boy, did it feel good watching him neuter the final Bush.
They lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. We should have never been in Iraq.
I am sick and tired of him going after my family.
Excuse me 1 second.
No.
I
The
didn't
simple
want
fact
to
is,
get
Donald, you cannot take
more energy tonight. I like that.
Get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.
After destroying the Republican Party, Trump decided to outflank Hillary on the left.
Unlike her, who voted for the war without knowing what she was doing, I would not have had our people in Iraq.
Taking one position after another that was more liberal than hers.
Don't vote for a Wall Street sellout like Hillary Clinton.
You made 3 speeches for Goldman Sachs. You were paid $675,000.
That's what they offered.
On days where she would make 1 or 2 campaign stops.
Hillary Clinton attending a number of private fundraisers, building those campaign coffers.
Trump was holding
big rallies in important swing states.
You know, it's not a good sign when your campaign is sending cardboard cutouts instead of you.
Her approval ratings are still underwater, and so better to send in either surrogates who are more popular or surrogates who can sort of fly under the radar and just visit with volunteers.
And make sure that your bumper sticker is just big enough so no one can see it.
The American people that live outside the Beltway, that's the real America. That's the real people out there, and those are the real people who are going to go vote by the millions for Donald J. Trump.
Real America sees what's going on here.
What I would call the real America, which is working class.
That people out here in real America think is crazy.
There seems to be a misunderstanding about who the real America is. Let me share with you a fact that has never been stated in the press, or reported on the nightly news, or even spoken amongst ourselves. The United States of America is a leftist country. That's right. We are one rockin', shit-kicking, gay-loving, gun-rejecting, race-mixing, pot-smoking, tree-hugging, hip-hopping, anywhere breastfeeding, quinoa-cooking, left-leaning liberal nation. Here are the facts. The vast majority of Americans are pro-choice. They want equal pay for women, stronger environmental laws, legalized marijuana, a raise in the minimum wage, Medicare for all, tuition-free college, free childcare, support for labor unions, a cut in the military budget, break up the big banks. Most Americans don't even own a gun, and 75% believe that immigration is good for the U.S., and on and on and on. Heck, Texas isn't even white anymore. Houston had a lesbian mayor. When you think Texas, you need to think lesbian.
All power to the people.
The values they stood for in the 60s and 70s
This is a meeting of American radicals.
are now the beliefs of this great land.
Put your whole face over that. Yes, there.
Those crazy motherfuckers have won. And I love the smell of essential oils in the morning. If America is us, and we're the majority, why is it that we do not hold a single seat of power? Not the White House, not the Senate, not the House, not the Supreme Court. In 50 of our state capitals, the Democrats control only 8 of them. Yet in 6 of the last 7 presidential elections, the popular vote was won by the Democrats, which means the Republicans have won only once in the last 30 years. This is the ceremony that takes place every 4 years, when the votes of the Electoral College are brought in to the U.S. Congress inside baby coffins. What they should do is bury those ballots with the Electoral College itself, the last vestige in our Constitution that was written to appease the slave states over 200 years ago. People, can we please be done with this?
The Sergeant at Arms will remove the protesters from the gallery. The chamber will be in order. The change will be in order.
You can't call it a democracy if the person who gets the most votes doesn't win. So if the American people have made it very clear that they want the Democrats running the country, then why aren't they?
I'm prepared to make a whole range of compromises.
Compromise.
Compromise.
Compromise. Compromise.
Well, we sat down and made a compromise.
Compromise. Compromise. Compromise.
And real compromises.
Compromise.
Compromise. Compromise. Compromise.
God bless you, Speaker Dana.
So when did all this compromising start? As far back as the last president who said,
"Make America great again."
No, not him.
We can make America great again.
Him, Mr. Bill Clinton, the man from Hope, Arkansas. Back in the 80s and 90s, Republican campaigns were flush with corporate cash, and they were winning elections. The Democrats, meanwhile, saw their labor base decimated. Labor was so lost, they couldn't even come up with something to put on their picket signs. So what better way to get in on the action than to start acting like a Republican? Bill Clinton went on a tear, launching a mass incarceration of black people, deregulating the banks to let them run amok, shipping 1 million jobs to Mexico under the guise of free trade, eliminating most welfare support for the poor, and making it illegal to marry someone of your gender. That you might have started asking yourself why you should even be participating in the political process. Millions began to drop out. The 100 million non-voters of America were essentially the country's largest political party. Yet neither the Democrats nor the Republicans sought their vote. As the Democrats became more like Republicans, so did the entire liberal establishment, led by the paper of record.
Our source was the New York Times.
Catering to big business, minimizing social movements like Occupy Wall Street, and cheerleading every war we got into.
We needed to go over to that part of the world, and what they needed to see was American boys and girls going house to house from Basra to Baghdad, basically saying, suck on this.
It also tries to dictate elections. Bernie Sanders' message resonates with a certain age group, his own. That's the headline. When you read that now, after, seeing what actually happened.
Seeing Bernie in person and hearing.
The purpose of that article was to try to stop you.
Michael, it was more than just that article. Look, we were a real threat to the liberal establishment. Because if you think that the New York Times or the Washington Post is really going to be talking about the issues that are important to working people in this country, are going to be talking about the need to take on the billionaire class, you would be very mistaken.
People believed Bernie, and he was sincere in what
They believed
he was
if he got elected, he was going to do these things.
Right.
I was a big Bernie person, and Bernie won every single county in West Virginia.
Counties?
Yes.
Every single county went for Bernie, and in Mingo, Hillary came in third place behind somebody named Paul Farrell. I don't even know who that is, okay?
Even though Bernie Sanders won all 55 counties in West Virginia, with Hillary not winning a single county, the West Virginia Democratic Party went to the Democratic National Convention and told this lie to the American people.
West Virginia, how do you count Madam Secretary, 19 votes for the next president of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and 18 votes for Senator Bernie Sanders.
A single lone West Virginian did her best to put her little homemade sign within the camera frame so that the American people would know the truth. The West Virginia Democratic Party decided to alter the results of the West Virginia primary by ignoring the will of the people and adding their own super delegates, i.e., party loyalists, people picked by the party hacks. Just like all the state Democratic parties did.
Indiana, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Michigan, Hillary Clinton. Montana, Hillary Clinton. New Hampshire, Hillary Clinton. Rhode Island, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Vermont, Hillary Clinton.
I move that the convention suspend the procedural rules, and I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States.
It was a betrayal.
People were so disgusted with it. People left the Democratic Party. They just exited.
This just tells people to stay home.
I think so.
Don't bother.
Bingo.
Yes.
When the people are continually told that their vote doesn't count, that it doesn't matter, and they end up believing that, the loss of faith in our democracy becomes our death knell. The strong man, the autocrat, only succeeds when a vast swath of the population decides they've seen enough and give up. But as the people of Flint protested, the governor and his spokespeople kept lying about the water.
This is certainly a situation that deserves attention. I do not think that it rises to the level of a statewide emergency.
Why not?
There's just we are here with the resources necessary to address the situation without that declaration.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint can relax. There is no broad problem right now that we've seen with lead in the drinking water in Flint.
Let's get the facts. Let's keep working this, and let's remember, water isn't the only source of lead, and so we need to make sure we're encouraging people to look at other places that could create a threat.
I actually started working for the health department November of 2015.
This is April Cook Hawkins. She was asked to participate in the cover-up.
I was the case manager here in Flint, Michigan. All of the results in regards to the blood levels, I inputted those numbers and made sure all of those numbers were correct.
And while doing so, she discovered that the government officials had cooked the books.
My supervisor asked if I would go in and help them out with the numbers and not show certain things. If someone came in and they test high, the health department didn't want that number to be shown.
She began secretly making printouts of the falsified records and was afraid to show them to anyone until she brought them to me. Is this an actual document that you kept as a piece of evidence?
Yes. The normal number is 3.5, and anything over 3.5 is considered a high lead level. 6, 6, 5, 6, 5, 5, 6, 7, 10, 6, 8, 6, 6, 14.
Not a single number that says 3.5 or lower.
No.
That means every child on this sheet of paper has an elevated level of lead.
Yeah. And I said, so let's just call the parents and retest. And they said, no, we can't do that. Just put them in as a 3.5 then.
And so the parents aren't able to start taking immediate action to help the child that's been lead poisoned.
They think their child is fine.
And they,
My child tested low.
You knew these parents were getting letters that were not telling the truth.
Correct. Just put them in as a 3.5 then.
And you said?
I said, no, I couldn't do it. And that's when things kind of hit the fan for me.
Somebody told somebody to do this, to cover up what the state was really up to.
Yes.
I look at the lifestyles of the kids that's being born into this. You know what they know? They know a bottle of water and a toothbrush and toothpaste is normal.
That's how I brush my teeth in Iraq. I took bottled water showers in Iraq. So I compare how I live now, how I lived in Iraq as far as when it comes to water. I had more water supply in Iraq than I did now.
And we need to not have the highest water bills in the nation, especially since Michigan has 85% of the nation's fresh surface water, 20% of the world. You know, then there's people who have to choose between their water bill or medication, water bill or childcare, water bill or car note, water bill or rent. When you have the highest water rates in the nation and the poorest city in the nation statistically, who has time to protest? You may want to, but you have to feed your family.
What this disaster created is a prison called Flint. No one would move here, which meant no one could leave.
If I was going to describe Flint to someone from out of the state that had never been here, I would let them know that we have a very good
So that is usually the most common question. People say, why don't you just move? Would you buy my house for what I owe on it?
Unfortunately, this water crisis could be almost the final nail in the coffin for Flint.
And then people started dying of Legionnaire's disease.
This outbreak of Legionnaires was one of the highest in the country, and it was directly related to the water crisis.
This is the family of NBA star Flint's own Roy Marble. They lost their mother to Legionnaire's disease, which she contracted from the contaminated water at Flint's hospital.
And I miss her so much. I do. And I wish to this day I would have just taken my mom to Ann Arbor. I wish I would have. I wish I would have. And they knew what was going on. That's the sad part about it. They knew what was going on.
Don't let anybody tell you this is just about water. This is about greed. This is about political corruption.
Get your hand off me.
Don't touch my wife.
We had a group of protesters.
Do you see any weapons?
Medical mortars here.
do it. Let's call this what it is. It's not just a water crisis.
It's a genocide.
It's a racial crisis.
Genocide.
It's a poverty crisis.
That's right.
We need the President of the United States here. We need federal help. We need FEMA. We need the EPA. We need the CDC, and we need the Army Corps of Engineers.
What did you know, and when did you know it?
You're asking 3 questions now.
Okay.
And that goes to your point about being civil. In many respects, you haven't been the most civil about this whole situation. And I'm always happy to answer questions. We stayed here to answer additional questions. And we're trying to be open and transparent.
He had been anything but open and transparent. Thanks to an investigation by the Michigan ACLU, the public learned that the governor's office had covered up the poisoning of Flint for nearly a year and a half.
We've been to homes like Saturday and one today where the windows, there's holes in the windows, and there's little, like, young children. They've got like a little blanket around them, and many of them have fallen on hard times. I saw 2 babies shivering, and I'm bringing them bottled water, and the mother thinks I'm like the second coming. You know what my thought was? You know what my thought was? I thought, that son of a bitch. That's what I thought.
The governor.
To do that to our people.
Right.
He should be charged criminally. Once he was advised by his chief of staff that the water had lead levels above what was acceptable, and he continued the program, didn't bring it to anyone's attention, any of his administrators, in fact, fought it, that makes it an intentional act.
So for every hour after he knew that water was essentially poisoning these children, it's a criminal act.
I think it's a criminal act.
No terrorist organization has yet to figure out how to poison an entire American city. That took the Republican Party of Michigan and its CEO governor to pull off. I decided to go and make a citizen's arrest.
Here to the governor's office.
Okay, just hold on a minute.
All right.
We'll get someone out.
All right. Yeah, no.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Ari Adler, Governor's Director of Communications.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure. What can I do for
So, well, I'm here to make a citizen's arrest of the governor, and I'm wondering if you could help facilitate that for me.
Okay, no, governor's not here.
For poisoning the people of Flint.
Well,
Knowingly poisoning the people of Flint.
there were mistakes made. There was a water crisis in Flint. Water quality in Flint is now testing well below any kind of action level at the federal level.
So the water's safe?
Some of the current tests are currently showing that it's actually testing better than bottled water.
Better than bottled water. I actually have a glass of water here from the city of Flint. I brought with me all the way from Flint. If it is great water, would you mind drinking it right now?
I'm not going to just drink a glass of water that I don't know where it came from.
I just told you it came from Flint.
If you'd like information or
You don't.
whatever I can do to
You think
advise
this
you
water's
to
still
help you.
poisoned?
I do not think that at all.
Governor Snyder? Hello? Hello? Hi. It's Michael Moore. Are you home? He's not coming out. All right. Let's hose him down.
I just got back from Flint. Yeah, that Flint. I saw that dirty water with my own eyes, but not to my surprise. Governor Snyder, you're not much of a provider, 'cause Flint ain't fixed.
Every single child in Flint,
Flint ain't fixed.
10,000 children,
Flint ain't fixed.
had drank the lead.
Flint ain't fixed. The children up there are sick. The lead in the water is thick. Flint ain't fixed.
I wasn't born here, and we came to this country very much for that American dream. And, you know, with nothing besides education. You know, my dad was a GM employee, my mom was a teacher, benefited from, you know, union contracts, sent their kids to Michigan's public schools. The American dream worked for us. It worked for me and my family the way that it does not work for the kids that I take care of in my clinic every day. They are literally waking up to a nightmare of injustice, poverty, lost democracy, and that is another lesson we need to learn from Flint.
Maybe that's why it's called a dream, because it's not a reality for everybody.
No, it's not.
Right?
No, there are multiple Americas.
You decided that's the military.
People are scared to challenge you. You deploy because your nation sends you to these places. And then one day you come home and you realize it was all a lie. Our town is dying. 1 out of every 4 homes is an abandoned, dilapidated structure, and you get told, keep picking up trash and let leaders do what leaders do. Elected leaders in our towns, in our states, in our country, absolutely are self-serving. They have no idea of what it's like for a single parent to put food on the table for her child. You know, you come home and you realize that I can take you 5 minutes from here and show you where kids have it worse than the kids I saw in Iraq and Afghanistan. So that's why I come back here and I started speaking up for the things that I believe in, and I will not shut up for nobody. And I don't give a shit who you are. I'll fight you in the damn street right now.
Okay.
I'm sick and tired of people telling me that America is the greatest country because we can whip your ass. We don't have health care for everybody. We don't have that. We have homelessness that's everywhere. We have an opioid epidemic that has absolutely destroyed our communities, has killed more people last year than all the lives lost in the Vietnam War, and we're not willing to go to war against Big Pharma.
How come we don't have more people like you on our side?
We do. Let me tell you something. There are many people out there.
Where are they?
My name's Alexandria. I'm running for Congress here. Yeah, it's behind that door. I looked at the match between our representation, our community, the special interests that are kind of hurting what's going on here. And then I looked around and saw that the seat hadn't been challenged in 14 years. It really just felt like if nobody's gonna do it, then I gotta do it.
My name is Rashida Tlaib. I'm running for the U.S. Congress.
I'm running to become their next congressman in the midterm elections.
I'm here doing this because listening to the speeches at the Women's March inspired me.
I'm a professional backyard chicken farmer. I had never run before.
And you're an author?
It's just a how-to book called My Pet Chicken. In the back I have recipes.
I believe that in a modern, moral, and wealthy society, no person in America should be too poor to live. That's what I feel.
It's simple. Her views, her policy positions are actually downright scary. Let's see, single-payer, universal health care, universal jobs, government-subsidized housing, free colleges. She wants to abolish ICE and, of course, impeach President Trump.
I don't think he knows how to deal with a girl from the Bronx.
We'll see.
People always say, you gotta wait your turn, Rashida. And I was like, what turn? I didn't know there was a line. I'm actually running for Congress. Hi, sweetie. You probably also see me get kicked out of the Trump rally. Donald Trump was coming. He was less than a couple miles from my house. we found out that the Detroit Economic Club was not going to allow questions. First time ever in history. Well, we were taken aback by that. Why can't we ask questions? So 12 women came there and every 2 minutes interrupted.
In terms of violent crime.
Asking questions about what is his stance on labor organizing? What's his stance on sexual harassment?
Today I will outline my economic vision. In the coming weeks, my campaign is about reaching out to everyone as Americans and returning to a government that puts the American people first.
My question was, have you read the Constitution? What part of the Constitution? That was the most American thing I could have done. A lot of my colleagues said, oh, it's a little too aggressive. A Democratic state senator called and said, do you think that was really necessary? And two of my Republican colleagues were like, really proud of you, girl. You know, I don't agree with everything, but good for you. There's a sense of respect, ironically, from the other side for the way I approach issues.
One thing was abundantly clear. These candidates were fighters.
People deserve someone who are going to fight for the people and not for corporations.
To be able to encourage someone to run for office.
Man, it is truly the lack of political will from our Democrats, and their backbone is literally just missing, right? And you put both of those components together, and then on top of that, you taking money from the same folks the Republicans taking money from. The Democratic Party should be recruiting extraordinary, ordinary Americans that actually get on the same bus as their constituents. Actually have kids in those public schools and understand what it feels like for a teacher not to get paid well salaries or lack of resources, right?
The definition of electoral insanity is trying to re-elect these same guys over and over again and expecting our country to be any different.
For the first time, Democrats will have an all-female statewide ticket. And on that list, Rashida Tlaib. She is poised to become the first Muslim woman in Congress.
We're not ready to give up on the party. We're just ready to take it over. And let's put some people in there that get it, because we felt the
Take
pain.
it over.
Take it over. Take it over, Michael.
It was already being taken over. Hundreds, if not thousands, of insurgent candidates, many of them women. They weren't just running against Republicans. They were running against the establishment of the Democratic Party that has led them to defeat for so many years. This old guard had tried to keep the candidates on the moderate side of things, to stay in the center, to not rock the boat. In other words, to lose.
51% of people between 18 and 29 no longer support the system of capitalism.
Well, I thank you for your question. But I have to say, we're capitalist, and that's just the way it is.
The we who are capitalists, is she talking about her constituents? Or maybe she means the people who fund the Democratic Party. They enlisted their friends in the media to tamp down the democratic revolution that was underway.
I think the party moved too far to the left.
Much farther to the left and out of touch with working class voters.
And if her win makes her into what Kellyanne Conway called the new face of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party is not going to have a very bright future.
The worst damage happens behind closed doors, where Democratic Party leaders do their best to stomp out the hopes and dreams of those who would like the Democrats to actually win. Take the case of Levi Tillemann of Colorado, a Democrat who was running for Congress. Levi was struggling because the Democratic leaders threw all of the party's money behind a more moderate, hand-picked candidate. So Levi secretly recorded his conversation with the number 2 Democratic leader in the House, Steny Hoyer, who then schooled Levi on how this all works.
Levi, I want to talk to you about this congressional race.
You would like me to get out of the race.
That's correct.
Yeah. I know you're fundraising for Crow.
I am for Crow because a judgment was made very early on.
Very early on, before voters had to say, that's fine, because the DCCC knows better than the voters of the 6th Congressional District, and we should line up behind that candidate.
That's certainly a consequence of our decision.
I mean, it's undemocratic to have a small elite select someone and then try to rig the primary against the other people running, and that is basically what's been happening.
I hear you, and I disagree.
But you were part of that process as well. You said
absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
I've been at this a long time.
My name is Alexandria. Getting on the ballot, we ended up rolling into the Board of Elections, and we turned in almost 5 times the required amount of signatures. On the street? We left, and within 15 minutes, these like super high-priced lawyers came rolling into the Board of Elections, demanding to pull our files, looking through every single one,
Democratic Party.
looking through to see who they could bump off.
I'm running a grassroots campaign. I'm not accepting money from Big Pharma and Big Energy. You know, my team, I have received messages from people all over America that says, who's running your campaign? And when I tell them, they are floored.
What do you mean by who's? What you mean, like who's your campaign director, your finance director?
My campaign manager drives a truck across. He's a cross-country truck driver. Right now, he's in North Carolina driving a truck.
I mean, that's his full-time job.
And he's another person that will fist fight you in the street for what he believes in.
No, I have to fight 2 of you in the street. Fuck, come on, you get it.
It's how we roll down here in West Virginia.
You don't have to be ex-military to have the fighting spirit. Sometimes the bravest people are the ones you'd least expect.
When you're a teacher in West Virginia, you're so much more than a teacher. We're social workers. We're mothers. I know last year I teach seniors. There were 8 students in my class that had me in their cell phone as mom. That was how I was listed in their contact. So,
as mom?
Mom. Yes. You were the mother figure because their mother abandoned them 5 years ago. Their mother died of a drug overdose. I've had all of these situations that's happened. But we still live paycheck to paycheck simply because we don't make hardly any money.
The teacher's pay in West Virginia is ranked 48th out of the 50 states. Some of these teachers live below the poverty line and qualify for food stamps.
I think every teacher in West Virginia knows several that's in that situation.
In addition to teachers being on food stamps, things were about to get even worse. Not only was their health insurance going to double,
they also started this thing called Go 365. It's a kind of a wellness program.
Go what?
Introducing Go 365.
To even get health insurance, teachers were being forced to buy and wear a Fitbit device. The Fitbit would track all their physical activity all the time. And if you don't register enough steps into the online database,
then you pay a $500 penalty at the end of the year.
You know how weird this sounds? Like how darkly strange and wrong?
Yes. Yes.
And who was behind this tracking the teacher's idea? A man named Justice. Governor Jim Justice.
Nobody loves education more than me. Nobody loves our teachers more than me.
Tonight in Pineville, a meeting was held to discuss changes to the Public Employees Insurance Agency.
If the Fitbits could measure pissed off West Virginian teachers, they'd be lighting up right about now. But the leaders of the teachers' union weren't much help. They discouraged a statewide strike.
Our union reps, they've told us about all the risks. We could lose our job, we could lose our seniority, we could lose a day's pay, we could lose all these things. I just said, guys, listen, the eyes of West Virginia are on us right now. If we can just have the courage to step out, other counties will follow.
This was the chilly scene outside Point Harmony Elementary Friday morning. Upwards of 50 teachers lining the sidewalk, all on a mission.
The teachers decided on their own to go out on strike and do it by themselves, one school district at a time.
Alameda County is on
the courthouse steps.
People are chanting, we're Facebook live streaming that, and other counties are commenting on there and saying, I wish I was there. It escalated really quickly. So 4 go out, then 7 go out, and then
55 of 55 counties. The strike will go on in all of them tomorrow.
It is unlawful to have a work stoppage.
The teachers were warned the strike is illegal. They face anything from being fined, being fired, to going to jail.
But for them, it was worth risking jail to get what they wanted: a 5% raise and health insurance without Fitbits. The teachers weren't alone because the bus drivers and other school staff were part of the same strike. Except there was one problem. Over half the school children in West Virginia got their breakfast and their lunch at school. So the teachers decided to prepare food for the students during the strike.
The group not only packed the bags, but also hand-delivered them to each student's home.
Oh, my stars.
Make no mistake about it, they want the voice of the working class citizens to be gone. If you are not a member of a labor union, you better become one. If you notice, many days they had red bandanas wrapped around their necks, and they're proud of that.
The bandanas have a special meaning going back to the 1920s, when tens of thousands of coal miners went on strike, wearing red bandanas around their necks to identify themselves as pro-union, and thus popularizing the term redneck.
And you might think it might be a derogatory term, but from where we're from, that is a term of pride. That says we will not back down. The labor unions across this country needs to take up the red bandana and needs to put them around their necks and say we are tired of being overlooked, mistreated, underpaid, overworked, understaffed. We're tired of it.
Public schools in West Virginia will remain closed today. The third day of a statewide strike by teachers and other school employees.
Will be closed tomorrow for a 4th day.
Already lasted 5 days.
Like true rednecks, the teachers stood firm.
Those people in that Capitol right now wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them teachers.
But the union leaders reached a compromise with the state.
We believe the best course of action at this time is to return to school tomorrow.
The union leadership had sold out. They got the teachers less than what they wanted and left the bus drivers and the lunch ladies out in the rain.
It's a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound.
The teachers rejected this and insisted that the bus drivers got the same raise that they wanted. They continued to stay out on strike. They held firm day after day. And after 9 days of striking, and singing Twisted Sister, the teachers finally won the raise they were fighting for. Not just for themselves, but the same raise for the bus drivers, the lunch ladies, and everyone else. Oh, and the Fitbits? They were finito.
The moment we won, we celebrated for like 5 minutes, and then we put the rest of the nation on notice.
And it's starting to spread all over Kentucky.
Arizona, North Carolina.
Oklahoma is pissed off.
Now on Monday, teachers right here in Colorado will join in the walkouts.
When working class people come together and say, we're not leaving until you give us what we want, there's no money or anything more powerful than that. And that's why politicians since the beginning of this country, they have tried to divide people by race or gender. And so that's the Republicans do it, but you know what, the Democrats do it too. The Democrats say that the concerns of the people here don't have anything to do with the concerns of the people in Flint, Michigan, and that's bullshit.
All right, so here's the plan. I'm gonna go take an Uber in the afternoon before 2:40. From there, I'll go into school campus, load my bags, and get my AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds. Wait, and people will die. Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Teachers, make sure you stay with your students, okay?
And, like clockwork, came the thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
And our thoughts and prayers.
In our thoughts and prayers.
Quote, our thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
Our thoughts and prayers.
Our continued thoughts and prayers go out to all.
And they always tell us not to make these shootings political. A group of teenagers said, well, that's the end of that. They decided to make it political because it was political.
In response to President Trump, I would say this. You want to look back on our history and blame the Democrats? That's disgusting. You're the president. You're supposed to bring this nation together, not divide us. How dare you? Children are dying, and their blood is on your hands because of that.
I'm going to happily ask him how much money he received from the National Rifle Association. It doesn't matter because I already know. $30 million! And divided by the number of gunshot victims in the United States in the 1.5 months in 2018 alone, that comes out to being $5,800. Is that how much these people are worth to you, Trump? They say that tougher gun laws do not decrease gun violence. We call BS! They say a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. We call BS! They say that us kids don't know what we're talking about, that we're too young to understand how the government works. We call BS!
To all of the generations before us, we sincerely accept your apology. And we appreciate that you are willing to let us rebuild the world that you fucked up.
These fearless kids are on fire, and the fire was spreading. 1 month after the shooting, there was a National Student Walkout Day. But this middle school principal didn't want to let the kids off campus.
Basically just all ran out. I'm not sure if they're letting us organize.
They can't expel everyone here because that's insane.
Westglades, you may go back to second period.
We were able to go because so many people, there's one person can't stop at least over 500 kids.
Westglades Middle School, you may go back to second period at Westglades.
The tweens had tasted power, and they now knew that the adults are, well, kind of just a bunch of ineffective dweebs.
We want change! We want change!
This was a bona fide political movement, and I was there to see it for myself. The Parkland students invited me into their secret headquarters.
I think it's just insane to think that within a month of this happening, the pace that we've gone at, we have an international NGO that we're running out of an office space in the same city now.
22 students.
Being run by 23 walking hormones with probably a lot of ADD in between.
I don't know if it was the hormones or the ADD, but the international march they were organizing was taking off.
What's it up to? It's at 820. Yesterday it was at like 760 something. That's like several more marches in a day. Did you just say 830 marches?
My generation, the generation after me, maybe we did one thing right. We raised you.
On the contrary, social media raised us. Yes. My phone. And like you see it like
communicating with other young people
yeah.
about what the real truth is.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the fake news networks, CNN last night, was saying, I want teachers to have guns. I don't want teachers to have guns. I want certain highly adept people that understand weaponry, guns, if 20% of the teachers have guns, it may be 10% or maybe 40%. We need to let people know, you come into our schools, you're gonna be dead, and it's gonna be fast.
This is about us demanding change, and this is about the fact that we have already won. It's just a matter of when.
Thrust into instant activism, the students went to the place where change is supposed to happen, the State Capitol building in Tallahassee, one of the few places in Florida where you're safe from guns.
He didn't even reach 18 years old yet. He was a boy who got shot in the head because of your law saying that an 18-year-old boy can carry a military-aid weapon to kill.
The students were impeccably prepared. Some of the legislators, not so much.
You can shoot as many bullets with a handgun as you can with these rifles.
But civilians with such high-capacity magazines, do you support that?
When you say high-capacity magazines, that's the number of
bullets.
Yeah, I've heard different positions on that.
All we want is an answer as to how are we going to fix this and continue our life, not living in fear.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. There's going to be multifaceted bullet points of coming in from all kinds of different angles.
Government is set up to move slow, okay? There's committees, there's dual houses.
It's not like cutting grass. Cutting grass, you can immediately turn around and see this is the product of what I've done. But
your personal stance on assault-style weapons like an AR-15?
Yeah, it's a head scratcher where we are. So it's going to be a debate. I've always defended people's right to defend themselves.
With an AR-15?
I haven't got specifics, so you're asking me specifics yet, Jake, and I don't know, but
They quickly learned that asking for help from a politician who gets an A+ rating from the NRA gets you nowhere.
Take the camera off for me.
You need to challenge them directly.
Senator Rubio, can you tell me right now that you will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future?
That is the wrong way to look. First of all, the answer is people buy into my agenda.
You can say no.
Number second, well,
Or another option is to vote them out, even if you're too young to vote.
I get tweets from people, they're like, hey, I'm a mom from Tennessee. I've never voted before, but I'm gonna vote now.
Yeah. So you're getting, so people that are non-voters
Yes,
are telling you,
I'm gonna vote.
At all these marches, we're having booths to register yourself to vote, because we know that we're gonna be the generation that are going to vote those people out.
case in point, this guy.
Maine Republican Leslie Gibson, running unopposed for state representative, tweeted about a Parkland shooting survivor, calling her a skinhead lesbian.
They're already down, and he knocked them even down more by saying that. That wasn't very nice of him.
After Gibson's hate speech, David Hogg had immediately put out a call to action on Twitter. And sure enough,
in District 57, there's a candidate who was unopposed. He now has competition.
28-year-old Aaron Gilchrist of Green submitting the necessary amount of signatures required by the Secretary of State's office to run.
And then this happened.
Guys. Breaking news. The guy who called Emma a skinhead lesbian who is running unopposed as of like a day ago. Yes. And we dropped out.
Oh my God!
She had just met the deadline at 5 o'clock in Maine yesterday to run against this asshole.
I just can't believe that it was a day. It was literally a day.
Literally.
Both Emma and I failed 2 psych tests today.
Oh no.
But it's fine. We're changing the world. Like, in hindsight, I'm not going to care about that. What I'm going to remember about this day is getting that woman in Maine, like, pretty much in office.
Yeah, not your psych test.
Yeah.
Another memorable day was this one.
Welcome to the revolution.
Teenagers organized this all by themselves. No adults were allowed on stage to speak. And with over 700 marches underway in American cities and another 100 globally, it was the largest single day of protest in the history of our nation's capital.
Raleigh, North Carolina, Tampa, Florida, Central Los Angeles, all echoing the same message.
And when a message is urgent enough, sometimes help arrives.
City of Flint, USA, May 5th, 2016. POTUS has arrived.
The people of Flint had one last beacon of hope.
We were all invited to this big thing where the President Obama was going to speak to us about the problem.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool! Oh yes! Oh yes!
It's finally here. We've been waiting. Once he can make a conscious decision to push this with urgency.
While President Obama was on his way to the event, Governor Snyder thought he'd take to the stage and warm up the crowd.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I understand why you're angry and frustrated.
Not like we do.
I want to come here today to apologize.
It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. We already sick.
We have a short-term water crisis that needs to be repaired.
Thank you for caring for us, Obama.
Flint's recovery is everybody's responsibility. And I'm going to make sure that responsibility is met. That's why I'm here. To tell you directly that I see you and I hear you. We invest. Can I get some water? Come on up here. I want a glass of water.
Get a bottle. Bottle water.
I want a glass of water. Everybody settle down. This is a feisty crowd. Thank you. I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
What? He wet his lips. He did not drink it. He didn't sip it. He wet his lips.
There was an audible gasp in the audience. People were just like absolutely dejected. Why would you do that?
I am sure that somewhere when I was 2 years old, I was taking a chip of paint, tasting it, and I got some lead.
Yeah, that's like talking about like, well, I didn't wear a seatbelt and I'm fine. It's like, but there were tons of people that died.
Backstage, the president, sitting at the table with the criminal governor, decided to perform his stunt all over again.
You know, generally I have not been doing stunts here, but, you know.
That's not what I expected. That's what Snyder did.
It felt like he minimized like what people were actually going through and struggling with. If you were actually lead poisoned, you would not be president. You would be janitor Barack Obama.
We were holding on to hope that he would declare a disaster area. A disaster would give us FEMA, it would give us pipe replacement, get engineers in here. Then we could get Medicare for all the residents of Flint. As soon as he took a drink of the water and said everything's fine, that was that.
And look at it, years later, it's still poison.
When he came here, he was my president, but when he left, he was not my president.
I would again go back to the president's visit last week. He reinforced the message that filtered water has been determined to be safe for people to drink.
This, again, was our hero, and we thought he was going to come here and help us. But they do have a mural of him, and you ride past it now, and his head is busted out.
It was devastating, and it depressed the vote. And I know people that stayed home and just said to hell with all of them.
I don't know. I don't know.
But
I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would have advised him to do that, and I don't know why he would do it.
And to the average person, then the Democrats don't look like the people who are going to come to the rescue.
Right.
So in Flint, the number is something like 8,000 African-American voters who voted twice for Obama chose not to vote. Hillary lost in Michigan by 2 votes per precinct on average. 2 votes per precinct. 10,000 and some votes was it. So where are we left?
Yeah.
The worst thing that President Obama did was pave the way for Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump did not just fall from the sky. The road to him was decades in the making. Under President Obama, it became okay to imprison whistleblowers more than all previous presidents combined. He used drone strikes to bomb civilian populations. And he deported a record number of immigrants and refugees. What Flint needed was for President Obama to dig up the toxic pipes and have them replaced, but instead of sending in the Army Corps of Engineers, he just sent in the Army.
Those are not normal in Flint. And it's going down like a motherfucker.
Wow, where is it?
Oh my God, there's another one.
What is that?
Why are they so low? June 25th, Flint, Michigan. It was like, boom.
Didn't warn nobody in the neighborhood.
Oh God, this is so insane.
And it freaked me out.
Obama's Department of Defense decided to use Flint as a training ground to prepare Army troops so they could fight future wars in urban communities.
What are you guys doing this training for?
It's just to conduct some realistic training.
No one in Flint was warned in advance that they would now be used for target practice.
A few things broke in our house. Glass started to fall off the table and stuff.
What are we going to do? Everybody better fucking get ready.
What is it? What organization are you a part of?
I'm part of the United States Army.
U.S. Army?
In what other part of this city would they have did this without notifying the people?
Why are they doing this in Flint? Like, why here?
Probably because the availability of the abandoned buildings.
12:11 a.m. in the city of Flint.
See that?
Coming to an American city near you. Because if it can happen in Flint, it can happen anywhere.
Do you see this? Do you see this, guys?
If you are from Flint, you have a whole different definition of terrorism. He was the only candidate of the 2016 election, Democratic or Republican, who decided to visit the scene of the crime. Perhaps he wanted to admire the handiwork of fellow Republican Governor Rick Snyder. Somebody once asked Donald Trump, how do you handle being at the center of all of this media attention, the whirlwind around you? How do you weather the storm? And he looked up and he said, I am the storm. I am the storm. And as you know, there's only one person who can navigate the storm, and that's the person who created the storm. And the rest rest of us are just looking for cover.
Thank you very much. You folks are in here. Place is packed. There are lines that go back 6 blocks. There is such love in this country for everything we stand for. You saw that on Election Day, and you're going to see it more and more. So we're all part of this very historic movement, a movement the likes of which, actually, the world has never seen before.
Often the move is to say, you're making a comparison to Hitler. It's not a perfect comparison, and therefore, let's throw all of history out. Whereas what I would say is, of course, the comparison's not perfect. No comparison's ever perfect. History doesn't repeat. But history is this huge resource of patterns. It's this huge resource of structures. It's a way to try to get your bearings in a moment like the present one where we're not really sure what's going on.
They were one of the greatest liberal democracies in the world. They were the first country to have universal health care for all citizens. They not only invented the printing press, they read more books than any other country, and it was not unusual for each of their cities to have a dozen daily newspapers, a robust free press. And they made the best movies. The art, the culture, the science, they were considered the most intelligent people on earth. In November of 1932, they elected an immigrant, an Austrian, to be their leader. He had no political experience. He didn't talk like a regular politician. He just told it like it is. It was so refreshing. Women loved him. Children were always excited to see him. Oh, and he loved animals.
Look what Hitler dines on. Not even soup for the ascetic vegetarian. Just a couple of crackers for a victory banquet.
He told jokes, he told stories. He was a great dancer. He talked about putting Germany first. And when German football players disrespected the national anthem, they were punished. He talked about creating jobs for everyone. He built roads and infrastructure and camps. He knew how to use the new media, radio, newsreels, and in 1935, he started his own TV network 4 years before Americans were introduced to television.
Heil Hitler!
He even knew how to use fake news.
Im Lager Juden von verschiedenen Berufen haben die Gelegenheit, ihr Berufsleben wieder aufzunehmen.
Oh, how the crowds flocked to see him. But his Nazi party only won 32% of the seats in Parliament, which the Germans called the Reichstag. The popular vote was won by Germany's left liberal parties. Hitler wanted more. A few weeks after his inauguration, there was a terrorist incident. Somebody set the German Parliament building, the Reichstag, on fire. Many believed it was the Nazis who did it in order to create a national emergency. But Hitler blamed the Communists. The Communist Party was banned, and their seats in Parliament taken away. The liberals were vanquished, and the public supported Adolf Hitler, taking complete control. This Jewish weekly in Germany published a front-page editorial saying that everyone should calm down. Now that the Nazis are in power, we don't believe that Herr Hitler and his friends will do all the things that they promised. They won't suddenly take away the constitutional rights of German Jews. They won't lock us up in race ghettos or unleash the murderous mobs on us. They can't do these things because the Constitution won't let them. Back in the U.S., the New York Times agreed. They reassured the American people that things would not be that bad. They even wrote flattering articles and said that Hitler's anti-Semitism was not so genuine or violent as it sounded, and he was merely using anti-Semitism as a bait to catch followers.
When you track how people first reacted to Hitler and Mussolini, they said, oh, he's just insane. Or the classic thing is that the elite party, in this case, the GOP, we're going to invite him into power, and then we're going to control him.
How am I doing? Am I doing okay? I'm president. Hey, I'm president. Can you believe it, right?
Over and over in history, what has happened is that these people get invited in, they get legitimized, and then they take over the show.
There is no Republican Party. There's a Trump Party.
At 12:05 p.m. on January 20th, 2017, just minutes after being sworn in as president,
so help me God,
Trump filed the paperwork for the Trump 2020 re-election campaign. Within days, he went right back to holding rallies.
Keep America great! Exclamation point.
And campaigning for an 8-year presidency.
Unless they give me an extension for the presidency.
These are what I call trial balloons. You throw out an idea that previously was unthinkable.
4 years, 8 years, or as you know, FDR, in one case, 16 years. Should we go back to 16 years? Should we do that? Congressman, can we have that extended?
Unthinkable in democracy or unthinkable for human rights reasons.
She is a great gentleman. He's now president for life. President for life. No, he's great. Hey, look, he was able to do that. I think it's great. Maybe we'll have to give that a shot someday.
They float these ideas, they get them out there, and then the press does its job for him.
President Trump offering his congratulations to Turkey's President Erdogan for winning a referendum that grants him sweeping new powers.
Picks them up, amplifies them, circulates, and then it becomes a thing.
You know, the last time I jokingly said that, 16 years, the papers started saying, he's got despotic tendencies. Now, I'm not looking to do it. Unless you want to do it, that's okay.
And it becomes part of the discourse.
Half of all Republicans in a poll said they would agree to postpone the 2020 election if President Trump asked them to.
52% of Republicans would support postponing the 2020 election if Trump proposed it. And he hasn't even proposed it.
People do think, well, we have this democracy, we've had it for over 200 years, it's not going anywhere.
But it's so bogus. That's just not true, Michael. We've had a democracy since circa 1970. I mean, if black people can't vote, it's not really democracy. If women can't vote, it's not really democracy. Democracy, I mean, I love the fact that I live in a country which is more democratic than others. But I will say that democracy in America is an aspiration. It's somewhere we've got to get. I mean, when only half the population is voting, when there's unlimited money in politics, we're not there yet.
Over 1 million new jobs, companies investing billions in America, stock market reaching all-time record highs, our country strong again.
Never in American history has a president kept more of his promises in his first 2 years in office. Not the promises he made to the voters, but the promises he made to his fellow billionaires in the ruling class. A record tax cut for the rich, passed. Obamacare.
It's obvious that it's failing. It's dead.
Dead. Banking regulations either weakened or removed.
Doesn't get much bigger than that, right?
And is on his way to packing the court with 140 conservative judges.
A modern-day record.
And making lifetime appointments to the Supreme Court with right-wing judges. The Paris Climate Accords.
Will withdraw.
The Iran nuclear deal.
Will withdraw.
Our reconciliation with Cuba.
I am canceling.
Privatized prisons.
Whose stock has nearly doubled.
Privatized public schools. And he's building that wall.
We want to make it perfecto.
We shall establish, beyond the realm of doubt, facts which, before the dark decade of the Third Reich, would have seemed incredible.
I had a defendant who killed 90,000 Jews. And I asked him, why did you do that? And he said, Hitler knew more than I did, and he told me the Jews were planning to attack as a matter of self-defense, to defend ourselves against that attack. Now, that was the same argument being made by the President of the United States.
What Trump is doing.
We're doing something for which I hanged this man.
You can roughly locate any community in the world somewhere along a scale running all the way from democracy to despotism.
I hated watching this stuff in civics class, but boy, do I miss it now.
When a competent observer looks for signs of despotism in a community, he looks beyond fine words and noble phrases.
As a community moves towards despotism, common courtesy is withheld from large groups of people on account of their race.
You're a fucking piece of shit, you fucking spit.
Nasty fucking nigger.
Are you a citizen?
Yes, I am a citizen.
Are you a United States citizen?
Can you please get away from me?
Then you should not be
Can
wearing
you
that.
please get away from me?
I hate you, fucking Chinese fuck.
Excuse me.
Put your hands on me one more time, motherfucker. Hey. You should get in that fucking Jewish oven and die like your ancestors.
Fuck
you and you nigger fucking people. Okay? Get the fuck out of my country.
Or because they don't like a man's religion.
Is there a Muslim problem in the world?
Absolutely. Christianity is under tremendous siege. It's death by a million cuts. We are getting less and less and less powerful in terms of a religion and in terms of a force.
If a community's middle-income groups grow smaller, the likelihood of despotism is increased.
I make $7.30 an hour. I only get 17 hours a week. It's shit. Everything around here is.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
And when citizens have to accept what they're told.
The media. You mean fake news?
Well, that despotism stands a good chance.
Sleazy people.
Crooked media.
The media has been unbelievably dishonest.
The most dishonest groups of people I've ever met. But I'd never kill them. I hate them. I would never kill them. I would never do that. That's sick. No, I wouldn't. Wait, let's see. I want to find a friendly reporter.
Questions are not encouraged.
Don't ask me questions like that. You're not a very good reporter doing that.
How can you ask such a question?
Do you have a question that now is a legitimate question?
How dare you question the fact?
I guess I don't understand. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be
No,
fake?
the reporting is fake.
And if books and newspapers and the radio are efficiently controlled...
Sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
I have the right to ask the question. I'm a reporter and don't touch me, sir. Don't touch me, sir.
The people will read and accept exactly what the few in control want them to.
But it must be true. I saw it in this book right here.
Now that's what I call a nice question.
What I say goes, see? I'm the law around here.
I'm president and they're not.
He knows what he's doing. It's the same thing that authoritarians and fascists have done in the past. You need to make sure that when charges of corruption or other wrongdoing come forth, nobody believes the judiciary.
We're the only country, essentially, that has judges.
The intelligence services.
The corruption at the top of the FBI.
The press.
Fake news.
You need to make sure that they are discredited.
What you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening.
People believe him, and this is, of course, puzzling to many of his critics, but if the strong man, the authoritarian, has done his job, he has bonded people to him a long time ago. And this Trump was doing that with his rallies and his loyalty oaths.
Should we do the pledge? Raise your right hand. Do you pledge that on Tuesday you will go to vote for Donald Trump tomorrow? Raise that hand. I love you. I love you.
People don't care if he's lying. They believe in him, and that's more important than believing the truth.
You've been hearing me say it's a rigged system, but now I don't say it anymore because I won. Okay? It's true. Now I don't care. I don't care.
The founders thought this thing's going to last a decade, a few decades. We'll be lucky if it's a few generations. Democracy means ruled by the people, and if the people aren't asserting themselves, then democracy will go away. And whether it's to some drastic form like fascism, or whether it's to some form where yeah, we keep voting, but fewer of us are allowed to vote every year, and there's some kind of emergency statute, or, you know, the money just makes the voting basically a joke, which is unfortunately where we're tending anyway. Whether it's one or the other, there's so much to lose.
There will be a civil war in the United States of America. The Christians will finally come out of the shadows.
The sign says, "Hey, liberals, better get your guns if you try to impeach President Trump."
Just try it. You will have a spasm of violence in this country, an insurrection like you've never seen.
3% of us own over 160 million guns. Why would they need all those guns?
I would take up arms because I think I think we need a revolution. I'm not a violent person. I'm even an ordained pastor.
Michael Moore's everywhere saying, surround the Capitol, surround them, uprise, get violent. How did I know? I told you, I'm not that smart.
We're in literally a 10 or 20 year struggle for the future of the country, and that's where you're just going to have to man up, toughen up, just like our forefathers, right? We're going to have to do exactly the kind of effort they had, and we can win.
The white establishment is now the minority.
You ready to shoot Barry? All right, let's go. He's bleeding now, isn't he?
Susan Sontag, she said, we're just one 9/11 away from losing our democracy.
Yeah, I mean, I may be a bit more pessimistic. I think we're 0 9/11s away. We have to think, we have to reflect, we have to think these are the kinds of things which happen in history. Let's not trade the real freedom for fake safety. When there is a terrorist attack, the thing we have to mobilize for is not safety, but freedom.
There is one report, as of yet unconfirmed, that a plane has hit the World Trade Center, and you can see that there is smoke there coming out of at least two sides of the building.
The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts.
The USA Patriot Act, adopted by Congress and signed by Bush 6 weeks after the attacks, allows for searches of medical and financial records, computer and telephone conversations, and even for the books you take out of the library. Most of the people we spoke to say they're willing to give up some liberties to fight terrorism.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Last week, ICE agents fanned out in raids like this one in every state.
Ripping children away from their families under this new policy.
¿De dónde son ustedes? ¿Y tú?
Guatemala.
No llores. Vas a llegar con... Mira, ella te va a explicar y te va a ayudar. ¿Cierto?
Papá.
Taking babies away from their mother and locking up one or the other and separating them because they didn't do harm to anybody. They just didn't comply with the stupid regulations. That's a crime against humanity, in my judgment. The Statue of Liberty stands there, you know, send me you're tired, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Where? We don't see it in this country, and it pains me. And that's the world in which we live. And we've got to change it or perish.
Months from now, when we realize that the democracy we wish we'd had never came to be, and what we did have was eliminated due to some national emergency, will we ask ourselves, when was that moment we could have turned things around before it was too late? Was it when the teacher in your family had to get a second job? Was it when you first saw the friendly cop on your beat wearing this and driving around in that? Was it when, after months of being addicted to the pills you've been given to make the pain go away, that you realized it really wasn't the pain that needed to go away? Was it when you first heard that the president you dearly loved took more money from Goldman Sachs than any other contributor, and you wanted to tell someone, but instead, you just quietly threw up in your mouth? Was it when you convinced yourself that this misfortune would never come to your town? Was it when you realized that we do indeed love our guns more than we love our kids? And that if this is the America we're trying to save, maybe we need to ask ourselves, why? Why save this America? The America I want to save is the America we've never had. It didn't need to end up like this. And it still doesn't. Evil is a slow-moving organism. By the time it coalesces into one giant terror, it is too late. We had spent too much time trying to comfort ourselves with the belief that the Constitution would save us. Elections would save us. The special prosecutor would save us. Impeachment would save us. We kept hoping, but it was that hope that killed us. Hope was wishful and passive and comforting. We didn't need comfort. We needed action. And sometimes I guess it takes a Donald Trump to make us wake up and realize that what we need to do is to acknowledge that we have to get rid of the whole rotten system that gave us Trump. And to realize that now, right now, our time is up. We need to act immediately.
Oh gosh, what happened? Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Oh my god! What do we do?
It says this is not a drill.
This is not a drill. Those are the exact words. Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill.
What about tourists? We have no idea where to go.
I mean, this literally could be the start of a nuclear war.
Shit.
The U.S. Pacific Command has detected a missile threat to Hawaii.
What do we do?
A missile may impact on land or sea within minutes. This is not a drill.
Holy shit.
This is a missile threat.
It was just an accident, a mistake. But make no mistake about it, this is the world in which we now live.
911, what is the emergency? Stoneman Douglas High School. They were shooting into my classroom.
6 minutes and 20 seconds with an AR-15, and my friend Carmen would never complain to me about piano practice. Aaron Feist would never call Kira Miss Sunshine. Alex Schachter would never walk into school with his brother Ryan. Scott Beagle would never joke around with Cameron at camp. Helen Ramsey would never hang out after school with Max. Gina Montalto would never wave to her friend Liam at lunch. Joaquin Oliver would never play basketball with Sam or Dylan. Elena Petty would never. Kara Lugren would never. Chris Hickson would never. Luke Hoyer would never. Marquine Duque Aguiano would never. Peter Wang would never. Alyssa Al-Hadaf would never. Jamie Guttenberg would never. Meadow Pollock would never.
it's a movie and the whole world is viewing it. And the popcorn is dreams torn, but we're always chewing it. The set design is by God, but the costumes by the devil. And the screenplay is adapted from a book that's embezzled. This is where I grew up, this is where I grew proud. This is where neighbors never say music is too loud. This is where the streets have no name, but they have history. This is loss as victory. Oh, my name, it ain't nothing. My age, it means less. The country I come from could be like the rest. I was taught and brought up there, laws to abide, and the land that I live in has God on its side. I had an undying wish to keep from dying. I had an untimely hitch keep me from climbing, but I climbed the hitch itself and I tried flying. I had an uprising in my soul. The left was fighting the right, and the right was fighting the light, and the light was blind in the night, and the night woke up in tears. When my fingers went to wipe them, they became a poem, but to write them, they would have to speak tears in another language that would take years. Now as I'm leaving, I'm weary as hell. The confusion I'm feeling, ain't no tongue can tell. The words fill my head and fall to the floor. If God's on your side, then would you ever need war?